morning. Happy New Year. Old Holy Smoke and Pipe Padre coming back at you with the last video of the year and the first video of the new year. Okay, so I am making this video on New Year's Eve. And it's probably about, what time is it here? Let me see what time it is. It is going on 6 o'clock. There we go. So, a happy Auld Lang Syne to all of you lads and lassies out there. I got myself a cup of Scottish drink here, libation, for New Year's Eve. A nice wintry drink. And it's been kind of drizzling outside. We might get snow later. We'll see. So, and I'm smoking. An old, you got something new and something blue and something old and new and all that good stuff. So this was a Calabash church warden that I got probably back in 2012 or 13 or something like that. A number of years ago, Pipe Pals, when I was in Elk Grove at Good Shepherd Parish, and the Briar Patch was in Lowman Center. Lowman Center was in Fair Oaks. And see, I'll get this mic here just a little bit closer. Hopefully that's recording. And I remember on Christmas Eve, I think it was again probably be 2011, 2012, 2013, one of those years, early years. And I remember getting this beautiful church warden calabash. And I also got my Dunhill lighter. And for some reason I thought, this is my Dunhill lighter. This is my fakey one, or my clone Dunhill lighter. Not to be confused with my old boy, which I got many, many decades ago. Still holding up really well, I have to say. And but I remember going into the Briar Patch there and feasting my eyes on all the wonderful pipes and post-Christmas celebrating and buying of things, and I just fell in love with this. I said, I have to, this has to come home with me. It really wanted to come home with me. I think they had two of them. And so this is something old and this is something new. This was a nice gift from JB. JB, if you're out there, I'm still enjoying this blend, and I thought tonight, because it is New Year's, Hogmanay, in Scotland, I would celebrate by smoking some Scottish blend there. Right, lads and lassies. Okay, nice toasty, pungent tobacco. And again, I got some coffee here, and somebody gave me this Scottish Piper coffee cup a number of years ago when I was in our Divine Savior Parish in Chico. So nice warming drink, a nice warming pipe on New Year's Eve. I was going to say New Year's Eve, but that was yesterday. Didn't get a chance to make a video yesterday. I thought I'd do one yesterday. That way I wouldn't have to rush to do this one. But hey, it is what it is. So how are you all doing? Are you excited about the new year ahead? Are you? Oh, and by the way, it wouldn't be Christmas, wouldn't be the holidays without, personally, my personal belief is, now you may not choose to believe this, but I do. It's not Christmas until you get one of these cards from Gary Portier. Thanks, Gary. Also, I got a little, this guy is so creative. I just love this guy. Okay. Anyway, Gary, Happy New Year. But again, it's always a treat to get an alternative Christmas card from The Gap. Yeah. So I decided that it's time to make another video. Try to make one a month. Not one amok, not run amok, one a month. And again, it's been a very busy, it always is, very busy season up here in the, I wouldn't say Pacific Northwest, but the Pacific Midwest. Yeah, I guess that's actually pretty accurate. Pacific Midwest. Not Northwest, but Pacific Midwest, because where I live, it's kind of really the middle part of. It's not the North, it's not the South, but it is in the mid, right there. So Pacific Midwest, and just thought I would enjoy a pipe. Now, I've been thinking. There's a couple things I want to talk about tonight. Some old, some new things, and some old things, and reminiscences about certain. In fact, I was just thinking the other day about a young lady. Her name was Fideli Fool. I wish I had got a screenshot of one of her videos from back in probably 2011, 2012, 2013 area time. Just a wonderful, wonderful presenter. And she was a young girl and young woman who just loved pipe smoking. And, one of the things that she said, which I'll never forget, she said, and I wrote it down because it came back to my memory. It said, pipe smoking is like incense for the soul. I love that. Always loved that. Incense for the soul. And when I think back on Christmases of yore, my brother would come. Now, my brother was almost 20 years my senior because my mom was married twice, and he was the firstborn son of the first union. I'm the firstborn son of the second union, okay? Hope that makes sense. But he would come home, and I might have said this before in other videos, but there was something absolutely magical about my brother. And he was, of all things, a pipe smoker. He would come out and he would bring his pipe, and I just remember okay, for me, pipe smoking was started with pipe sniffing or smelling. Because when he would come home and light that pipe up, and normally it was an aromatic blend, every now and then I think he might have done maybe something like Carter Hall or something like that. Not so much an aromatic, but kind of an in-between, kind of a burley kind of a thing. But I just remembered the fragrance. Now we call that, don't we, room note, right? Right, Pipe House? The room note, okay? And I just, gotta say, this is really a nice little smoker. This is really good. I mean, it's not only, it tastes good, but it has a nice draw to it. But I just remember the magic of smelling pipe tobacco burning. And it was like this wonderful, heavenly fragrance. I mean, I couldn't get enough of it. And I just started thinking about fragrances lately. Now, I just, did I make a little intro video? Yeah, I normally do. And you might have noticed there my pipe paraphernalia and some other things. But I also have something from a fragrance company called Dior. And I've been watching, interestingly enough, these fragrance videos. This young woman, she's quite pretty. You know, she's really pretty, but she's really just really kind of she's on another level, and she's captivating. And she talks about all these fragrances that supposedly, you know, if you're a guy, you know, you might want to think about wearing. You know, now again, I normally have, in fact, I think the last quote unquote cologne or anything like that I've ever worn was back in my early 20s, and it was like British Sterling or English leather. And I remember when I was a little boy, somebody gave me, I guess, a gift, you know, as I was just a kid, but I don't know how I got it, but high karate. Now, I got to tell you, when I smelled, you know, the high karate, that fragrance was like, it transported me to a whole nother, you know, level of existence. I mean, I could imagine all these things in my head, and the world was all of a sudden, it kind of went from kind of monotone, sepia tone to more of a colorful. You know, it's like, wow, there's more to life than just what I've already been experiencing. And I just remember I was driving around with my uncle and my cousin, and I kept opening the bottle and smelling it, you know, every now and then, you know, like, oh, it just smelled like something you just incredible, wonderful, magical. And again, it's kind of funny because when you stop and think about it, for a lot of us, especially if we had pipe smokers in our family, or, you know, there was a time, I guess not so much anymore, when there was a lot of more people who would smoke, you know, and some people would actually smoke either cigars or a pipe. And you would always smell a pipe burning. Now, never cared for cigarettes. I think I smoked one cigarette. Well, I actually didn't smoke it. I took a couple of puffs on it when I was in the Marine Corps. And I just said, well, if I'm going to take up smoking, I'm going to smoke a pipe like my brother Earl, you know. Because every time you would smell a pipe, it stood out. You know, you could have 100 people smoking cigarettes, but the guy that's smoking the pipe, he's the one that's going to get noticed, you know. In fact, in the old commercials back from the 50s and 60s, a lot of times they tried to sell pipe tobacco as a fragrance that would attract women. You know, and I think there's some truth to that. In fact, there's another, I've been watching this girl, then her thinking, what is her name? Curly Fragrance or something. She's really a kick. But one of the fragrances, interestingly enough, there's a couple of them that actually smell like campfire or a fireplace, you know, toasted marshmallows. And another thing about, I'm just learning about all this stuff, it's just fascinating to me, is that a lot of the essences in fragrances for guys have tobacco. There's a tobacco element in these fragrances. And it's interesting. So again, there's a connection there. You think about a burning pipe, and you smell that beautiful aroma, if it's especially an aromatic blend. And, you know, a lot of them are topped with special spices or toppings, you know, syrups or whatever, that do give off a very beautiful aroma. You know, a lot of times, you know, in fact, there was a couple of commercials that would say things like, you know, about angel's breath, you know, because they would say, oh, that pipe smells wonderful, smells sweet, it smells delicious. But then they would say, yeah, but angel's breath has dragon's fire, you know, and burn your tongue. That's because they didn't know how to smoke a pipe. And a lot of those tobaccos that were the cheap ones, they burned very quickly, which would cause tongue bite. You know. But anyway, I just think it's fascinating that the fragrance of a nice pipe, you know, burning on say an autumn afternoon or a winter's day. It has this beautiful aroma that it's its own self, is its own kind of a part of the enjoyment of pipe smoking. So, another thing about, again, fragrances is that they are so evocative. You can smell like cookies baking in the oven. This is one of the little tricks. And here's another interesting little thing. I'll light this again. When people are showing a house, they will intentionally actually cook or bake cookies. Because why? Because that aroma is so evocative of people when they were younger. When they were growing up in their home, home, family, all that good stuff. And a lot of times there will be certain fragrances. I think there's a fragrance called the Williams-Sonoma fragrance, which kind of has it's like a potpourri kind of a thing. It's not pipe tobacco, it's not cologne, it's not air freshener, but it's an actual, you burn or not, you boil or you simmer. I guess it's orange peels and vanilla and cinnamon and maybe cloves, and that's the traditional Christmas flavors. But the Christmas flavors are also Christmas smells. That's why, again, another point of making it here is that if you go into a lot of these, even grocery stores nowadays, what do they sell? Usually you'll find them in the entryway, those scented pine cones. Yeah, and they're trying to make those, I guess they're trying to branch those out to other holidays, but basically they're the Christmas ones or the Thanksgiving ones that, again, have the traditional Christmas fragrances, But again, they that attracts people. It's you want that aroma, you want that fragrance in your home. In addition to my hobby of pipe smoking, and I guess my new hobby of fragrance collecting, one of the things I'll say this is a little bit maybe too much information, but you get to a certain age and, people talk about the old person smell, and again, that just probably, it really boils down to just better hygiene, and a lot of people when they get older, they don't socialize as much as they did and they kind of let some of that stuff go. And so they're kind of not maybe as attractive as they once were, and they just feel like, why bother? But I just thought, well, have good hygiene, and then you accentuate that with just a little bit of a fragrance, a nice fragrance, not something that's overpowering, but something that complements you instead of just, maybe smell like my aftershave has always been alcohol, rubbing out isopropyl alcohol. Oh yeah, that's really attractive. But the other day I was cooking. I was making a dessert for some friends, and what was interesting was the recipe called for it was a cheesecake, and so the crust was you take a bunch of Oreos cookies, blitz them in a food processor with some butter, and then you tap that down in your cheesecake mold, and then you have to bake that off first, because you don't want it too super soggy. So anyway, the bottom line was that after 10 minutes, the fragrance, it says, and in fact, it even says, bake until fragrant, and let me tell you, that was an absolute, wow. It's like, that smelled so fantastic. For like 2 hours, my house smelled like this wonderful bakery or this wonderful, place, a gourmet shop where they sell pastries or something. It was just like incredible. So if I ever wanted to just impress somebody just with a nice fragrance, so I'd probably bake off some of those baked Oreo cookies in a tin just to get the fragrance, and then maybe light some nice candles and fire up a pipe and walk around the house, and so it'd all have all these really homey smells. Hopefully it would just make people feel really like, oh, this is a nice place. It's comforting. It's you want to call this home. So, and that's, to me, that's always been the allure of pipe smoking. I mean, I've always enjoyed the subtle flavors that you can get with a good pipe tobacco. You can taste them in their own unique smoky essences. And I guess that's when the only downside of being the only pipe smoker in a house is that you really don't get a chance to smell the wonderful fragrance of the pipe burning like you would if you weren't smelling. It's just the way it is, I guess. And even they talk about that with men's fragrances, is that you don't actually smell the fragrance you're wearing. You might get a little whiff of it, but it's not something that you're going to be going, you kind of become blind to it, nose blind to it. It's like, well, so anyway, but it's just something that you want to enjoy, these nice, wonderful fragrances. So that's what I was kind of excited about. And the thing was that I remember the connection, the correlation between pipe smoking, the fragrance of a nice pipe, and maybe a fragrance of a nice men's cologne, or maybe the nice fragrance of a certain thing baking in the oven, or something simmering, on the stove. All those things have fragrance component that really, I think, to some extent, even more than just the taste of something. One of the things that I've discovered even in fasting over the years that I've done that is that I can do two things. If I watch videos about cooking, it doesn't. Now, some people, it probably would just drive them mad. Like, how can you watch that and you're not eating? Well, somehow there's a psychological, emotional component to that, and I can say that I bet you that's going to taste delicious when I get around to making it after I'm done fasting. And then the other time is if I've been fasting and I'm still cooking, I can still enjoy the food through my olfactory sense. I can smell the deliciousness, and in many ways it kind of soothes the soul. I know that might sound a little odd for some of you. You might think, well, how can you control yourself and not dig in and just go hog wild? And it's just weird. I don't know why, but there's a sense of you can get some satisfaction even in cooking, even if you're fasting, just by being able to enjoy the fragrance and the aroma of the food that you're making, So, it's kind of strange. I remember years ago, again, when I was back at Corpus Christi now, Good Shepherd in Elk Grove about 14 years ago, and I was starting to get into the health and fitness thing, and and fasting. And I remember one morning, it might have been my day off. It might have been. Hold on a second. Yep, we're getting into New Year's. All these New Year's things are playing on the radio. But I remember going to the Briar Patch in the mall. That was a nice store, by the way. And I had been fasting for about probably 36 hours, and I had gotten a tin of Blue Mountain, and I had just gotten a brand new Dunhill pipe. Oh, by the way, Dunhill, I'm gonna have to order this because it's not that expensive. Dunhill actually makes a fragrance, a cologne fragrance that guys can wear. And I might have to order that one just because it's a Dunhill. Little White Dot. She's a good girl. But I remember was in the store, and at the time you could smoke inside their shop. It was legal. They had some kind of a special dispensation because people were going to smoke cigars and pipes in that store. And I remember I had some coffee And I remember lighting up some bowl of Blue Mountain. And you know what? Again, I know I'm not trying to say this is healthy. I'm not trying to say that at all. But I am trying to say that it did satisfy the hunger that I had at the time. And it put like a little damper on the hunger because somehow I was getting a little bit of satisfaction. And I think it was coming through the fact that I was smelling and tasting the tobacco and the coffee, which was very, very satisfying. So, I just thought about, the fact that tobacco and pipe smoking for me as a kid. Oh, and I remember even just, I think I had somebody gave me some old pipes, not that I was going to ever smoke them as a kid, nothing like that, but they were just kind of cast-offs, and I think one was kind of like a bulldog kind of a pipe, and one was a little bent pipe. Anyway, the bottom line was that I would smell the burned smell inside the bowl, and I always loved that too. I mean, so it's just there's always this fragrance thing about pipes and pipe tobacco and pipes that I've always enjoyed that facet of it. And I think that's probably why, even to this day, I still enjoy the hobby of pipe smoking. And just like, again, another correlation with fragrances, and, they have their own, like we have, specialty tins, like this, and you think of things like Squadron Leader and Orlick's Golden Slice and, all those things. And then you have the niche ones from specialty pipe tobacco stores, like the Briar Patch. Like they have one called Black Velvet, which I was going to smoke that tonight because when I think of New Year's, I think of, sophistication and being suave and debonair and, being out at, nightclubs and ladies in black dresses and pearls and whatever, and guys in quasi kind of, formal wear and things like that. And so Black Velvet kind of has that vibe to it. And it used to smell really nice. I only have one bag of it left, and I need to probably put a little bit of distilled water on there. But anyway, it's just, but again, it was this sense of the sense that you had all these different types of specialty tobaccos. What in the world is that? Sounds like they're playing games with us. I don't know what's going on with the radio. Interesting. Let's see, it's 6 o'clock. So the jazz station comes on now, and the classical won't come on until 12 midnight, New Year's Day. So I just wanted to kind of take a little bit of time to wish you all a very belated Christmas, and I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you and your loved ones are in good health and good cheer, and looking forward to the new year. I have kind of started. This year, I decided, okay, I'm going to start a month early on my resolutions, and I've been doing pretty good. Now tonight, I probably am going to splurge and indulge, but this will probably be the last time I'm going to do that. I've been navigating my way very carefully through the December Christmas season because, and I've said this probably before, that as a padre, people love to bring you treats, and this year was no exception. And so I didn't eat all of the treats. I remember last year I ate a ton of treats. I just said to heck with it. And this year I think I've indulged maybe on 3 occasions, and whereas I could probably, make that 4. But instead of eating them every single blessed day and just continue to stuff my face. I've been exercising a little bit more and also exercising a little bit more personal discipline to try to start feeling a little bit better in the new year. So I don't like to start on New Year's Day, because I just feel like, well, I mean, it's a good thing to try to resolve and make resolutions, but I always like to get a head start on things. It's like, for example, most of you probably know I don't imbibe in alcoholic spirits anymore. Of course, there are, the traditional Scottish ghostly spirits, that they talk about, apparently. And again, this is something I could say is true as well, is when I was growing up, when I was a little boy, and I could hear my mom and my grandmother talking about all these kind of ghostly things when they thought that the kids weren't listening, and they were drifting off to, the sugar plum fairies and all that kind of stuff. But I remember staying awake and just listening. And they would always kind of, at the end of the Christmas night or New Year's or whatever, some of the more spooky stories would be told. I can't remember them now, and they weren't like super spooky, but they were eerie. They were things that they said they couldn't explain. And then I'd be straining to listen to every word, and I could only get every other fifth word or something, and so my little imagination would run away with me, and I would fill in all the blanks, and then I'd fall asleep. But yeah, just the fact that. So I was going to say I don't imbibe in the spirits anymore, and again, just like I try to now get a head start on the new year by kind of starting the month before. It's like New Year's Day tomorrow. I'm happy to say that I will wake up with a clear head. I'll probably do my exercises like I've been doing for the last month. And I'll be ready to go for the New Year's Day Feast of the Mary, the Mother of God solemnity tomorrow with a clear head. I won't have any regrets. I won't wonder where I was at the night before or who I was with, that kind of stuff that happened when you're a young person. It's like, oh my gosh, I did what? With who? Those were the days. I mean, this goes long before I even became a padre, and even before I became a Catholic. So, but not encouraging or not condoning immodest behaviors, not at all. But again, you would wake up and you would wonder. Sometimes when I was drinking, there was one New Year's Eve. Just right about now, I'll never forget. This probably goes back 20 years now, and I was I had slipped. I had almost 13 years of sobriety, and for whatever reason, I picked up a drink, and that was the beginning of the end for a number of years. I was slipping and sliding back into alcoholism, and but I remember my brother and I was talking to him the other day, and he remembers very clearly because we talked on the phone for like almost 5 hours. And in that 5-hour period, I drank a bottle of Di Serono, the almond liqueur, 720 milliliters, and a bottle of Drambuie, another 720 milliliters. And it was a miracle that I actually woke up and I didn't die. I thought I was going to die. And I had alcohol poisoning the next day. I was absolutely miserable, and it was a miracle that I did not die that night. But I don't worry about that anymore. That doesn't happen anymore. Like I said, I'll wake up tomorrow just like I did today and every day for the last 13 years now, and I can say, oh, I know what I did, who I am, where I'm going, what I'm all about, and I'm going to feel good, and I'm going to treat myself with a clear head tomorrow. No headaches, no sickness, no bottle flu, not trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, that kind of thing. It's a real gift that I give to myself, and I hope that those of you who are watching, and again, don't get me wrong, I'm not really down on people that drink. I just am down on people that drink the way I did, and the way I drank was alcoholically. So then that's just not healthy. That's not good. But if you can have a glass of champagne to toast in the new year, like at Downton Abbey, then God bless you. I say, God bless you. You enjoy, and it's great. If you have a glass of wine with meal every now and then, and you put the bottle in there in the refrigerator for another 2 or 3 months, and you don't open it up, hey, you don't have a problem. You're fine. You can enjoy that. But someone like me, once I start, I can't stop, and that's the thing I had to learn the hard way. And but again, I don't have to learn that lesson tomorrow, because I've already learned that lesson, and now I can do other things. I can enjoy things, whether it's the fragrance of a nice pipe, or now kind of exploring fragrances that you can wear, and people can, again, it's not like you're trying to cover any bad odors. You're just trying to enhance what you have. And, and I think people enjoy, probably the fragrance of something that's pleasant, and instead of smelling like yesterday's old socks, yesterday's old gym socks, which was my fragrance of choice, people kind of like stand far away, it's like, hey, but anyway, but again, I started thinking about this whole idea, and I said, well, wasn't pipe smoking originally what attracted me to pipes? Was the beautiful, alluring fragrance. You'd catch that on a little waft of air or wind, and you go, and you'd kind of like, and I remember this distinctly. I remember as a young person, because when I would smell the pipe, I always thought of my brother. Now, again, probably when I was like maybe 11 or 12 or maybe 13, I just remember I'd be outside, on maybe a fall day, and I'd pick up somebody smoking a pipe somewhere. They weren't in my immediate vicinity, but somehow that fragrance was carried, the wind carried it over to where I could smell that, and I'd look around, and I kind of think, well, maybe my brother's around here somewhere, and I got excited, like, oh, he's coming home, he's coming for a visit, But I always remember, even when I realized that it wasn't really him, it was somebody else smoking a pipe that was similar, I would kind of like look around for where's the pipe smoker? Because again, they stood out in a positive way, I always thought. Now again, there are people, when it comes to fragrances and aromas and smells, yeah, some people just don't like anything. They want completely neutral. And I understand that too. Like I said, most of my life, the only thing I think I remember, again, wearing once or twice was like British sterling or English leather. I thought those were like, whoa, those are really fancy things, And I didn't wear them every day. And those were aftershaves, actually, I think. So they weren't really perfumes. They weren't fragrances in the classic sense, I guess. But I remember once in a great while, not every day, I think I had a bottle of English leather for years until I went through a bunch of old stuff and I just threw it out because it was just old. I guess you could still, that's one of the things I'm thinking about, it's kind of like collecting pipes and pipe tobacco. Now I'm kind of getting into this fragrance thing. I was thinking, I wonder if they still make British sterling and English leather. They probably do. You'll probably certainly find it on eBay, but I don't know how fresh that would still be after decades. But gosh, but it'd be just kind of fun just to say, well, do they still make that? It's a lot like I've been into retro tech, like some of the guys that I follow on YouTube. Let me get a little sip of my Scottish coffee here. And like, I wanted to try and, again, I have this microphone that I've been trying to get it to work, and I just don't think that the digital interfaces that you find on modern laptops and modern computers just recognize that signal or something. I don't know. So I kind of was playing with this microphone. My friend got it for me It's identical to the one I had. It was a realistic stereo mic, and I just thought it'd be kind of fun because I have a lot of fond memories of using that mic over the years, recording music, recording myself talking to my buddy and some other people. And unfortunately, now I did get it. I think I got it to work just last year. Again, last year is the year that somehow every first of the year, I always turn back to, well, can I digitize these old VHS tapes? My best buddy, he has this VHS collection. Some of it's personal stuff, some of it's, old movies and things like that. And he wants to see if we can digitize it. Well, I finally got around to figuring it out. I found a little component that works beautifully. It doesn't give you like 4K, I don't think. I don't think it upscales it to 4K. But it gives you an accurate representation of what was actually on the video. So you play a VHS today on an old VHS player, you're not going to get high def, and you're not going to get like Blu-ray quality or anything like that, but you'll still be able to play and watch the video in its original format. I think it's 720p, right? So the last several years, he's always, the first of the year, he's going, hey, have you ever figured out how to get those VHS to digitize the VHS tapes? And I tried every which way I could, and it just wasn't working. And then finally, I found a component that does it automatically, and it does a really good little job. So in fact, I got him one of those for his Christmas present. But just kind of going back to retro things, and of course, Christmas is a time that's just absolutely redolent with nostalgia. All the Christmases. I mean, sometimes if I'm driving around and I don't have a whole lot I'm focusing on, and I have a little bit of free time to just kind of think about whatever, a lot of times I'll have, I'll conjure up, or it'll come back to me, images of Christmases past, and sometimes they're kind of like, well, I haven't thought about that in 30 years maybe, or maybe 50 years, and just kind of reminiscing about, all those, those fond memories of yesteryear, and, with parents and friends and people that are no longer in my life, maybe because of life decisions I made, or maybe they made life decisions. But at one time, very close friends and people that I cared about and loved. And even to this day, I still have fond memories of them. Some of them are gone, and some of them are they just moved away, sometimes emotionally, sometimes geographically, sometimes both. But again, there were many Christmases. I think I still have one of my, very dear Christmas presents that I have, and I might have shared that with you maybe even last year or a year before. My very first, I guess, Danish freehand that my best buddy got for me for Christmas. I still have that little pipe. Maybe I'll bring that back into my next video and just kind of reminisce about that. But anyway, that's the time. This is the time of year when the ghosts of our past, the ghosts of Christmas past, kind of visit you, and sometimes they're bittersweet memories. That's to be sure. Sometimes you like I said, sometimes they're still maybe with us. They're a part of the quick and not the dead. But there's been a couple times where I've reminisced about some people, and I think, well, maybe I'll give them a call. I tried to do that about a couple months ago. There was somebody that came to my mind, and I thought, this person was at one time kind of just he was kind of like the kid that was always getting in trouble. And he was kind of the neighborhood kid that would, break into a house and drink your booze and maybe steal, some cash from you and stuff. And I just remember that everybody kind of had a very bad impression of this young guy. And then something happened. I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden this guy turned his life around. he became Mr. Responsibility. In fact, he was like 2 or 3 years older than me in high school, and he was right next door. And for the longest time, I was forbidden to even have anything to do with this kid because he was bad news. But then, maybe his first year in high school, something happened, and he became very, very responsible. And he started he took an interest in other people. He became a leader. We had this thing called California Cadet Program. I don't think they have that anymore because it's probably politically incorrect. But anyway, he became like one of the top officers there. And he just was a very responsible guy. And I'll never forget going to Christmas parties, a couple of Christmas parties with him, and he would be looking out for people that if they drank too much. He would try to make sure they took their keys or drove them home or something. The guy he just turned out to be a really good person. And it was just kind of a good example to me that you can turn your life around. Unfortunately, he turned his life around before he really got into some serious trouble and probably did some, jail time, but God bless him. Anyway, I thought about it. I thought maybe I can give this guy a call. I kind of looked up his name, and anyway, it didn't work out. But it's probably for the best. He probably got, who are you? I don't know you. Didn't probably hang up on me because he's an old guy like I am. Probably 3 years older than I am now. So he probably would be going, hey, what? Who's this? Why are you calling me? I know, hang up on me, But anyway, I was going to call him up and say, I just want to tell you that you actually were a great kind of an inspiration to me when I was younger, when I was, going through high school, and I saw how you, got your life back on track and became responsible, and I thought that was really a positive life lesson for a lot of people. So anyway, well, again, and I think I'll close it with maybe just talking just a wee bit about resolutions, lads and lassies. Again, I know some people kind of sneer at the whole idea of making a resolution and stuff. And the only thing I can say is I do make resolutions. Do I keep them all? Probably precious few, but the ones I have kept turned out to be pretty good. They were very, again, life-changing, positive life change. So, you just have to be realistic. You got to set some goals for yourself and make them positive goals, Now, in the old days, I'm going to make a resolution, I'm going to drink at least three beers a day. Yeah. No, that's not a resolution. That's a recipe for disaster. But again, you can say something like walk 30 minutes a day. I remember doing that, about 12, 14 years ago, which it didn't get me all the way to where I needed to lose all the weight, but it was a start. And I said, I'm going to do that for 1 full year. I'm going to walk 30 minutes every day for a year. And I did that. Unfortunately, the next year I didn't do that. And then the following year, I think that's when I said, hey, I compared both years and I said, well, I liked it better when I was exercising, I was losing weight, and I felt much better about myself and in my own skin. So there you go. So anyway, so I hope each and every one of you has a resolution to make 2026 a better year. I know that there are people out there that watch my videos that disagree with my political views, and that's okay. But there's more to life than politics. And, I just think that you can choose to be a good person, okay? I think that's the secret of life, is that you don't have to be a slave to what the politics or the social norms say or don't say. If you resolve to be a good person and treat people with kindness and respect and try to live humbly and walk humbly and do justly, but with God and other people, then that's a great start. You can't go wrong having that kind of a simple desire. So, what I try to do is every year I say, well, I'm going to try to do one thing for a year, whether it's walking 30 minutes a day or it's, trying to say, I'm going to let go of certain treats that I love and say, I don't need this right now. I can let this go for maybe at least 6 months or a year, and just see where you go. Just see what fruit it brings. Because a lot of times when you just make a simple resolution to do one simple thing for a year, you might find yourself in a better space next year. So when 2027 is rolling around, you'll say, well, I'm glad I took some time to better myself and help other people. So there you go. Well, thanks so much for watching. I'm going to try to upload this video. I might keep it simple, have a few little treats in there, video treats if I can put them in there, if I think of something fun. But basically, I'm going to just make it simple so I can upload it, and it's ready to watch for the next couple hours on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. All right. Well, as I like to say, that's kind of one of the things I started saying it on. I think it was kind of a resolution thing. I said, well, now that I got a pipe channel, I'd like to have some little catchy phrase. And so I thought, well, lighting up your pipe, light of the world, because we think of like Christmas and Advent and Christmas and Hanukkah, and it's the season of lights. And I thought, well, light up your world by lighting up your pipe. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to sneeze. Oh. You ever get those sneezes? Oh, yeah. Anyway. It passed, but it'll come back, I'm sure. Okay. Well, take care of yourselves. Oh, I can do this now again. I can do a proper Marine Corps salute without my finger. That was last year's Christmas gift. I don't know if you remember that one, but this finger was stuck like there. I couldn't move it up because of that Dupuytren's contraction thing. And then I got that fixed just before Christmas, and now my hand is nice and straight again. And it's been that way for a year. I love it. So I can make a proper salute. Okay? So I salute you as I salute 2026 as it goes out, and salute 2027 as it comes in. So I hope you all have a wonderful New Year's Day tomorrow, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Again, light up your world and light up your pipe. We'll see ya. Happy New Year!